Greetings, online students, wherever you may be. Welcome to another week of online finance 2205 personal finance. So welcome. Um, we're touching base again, as I promised you that we would, and so let's just get started and talk about some things that are going on. First thing is that our registration period is officially over. You may recall that it was extended to Friday the 25th, and so at this point I think we are good to go, and we're obviously proceeding through the semester, and we have 14 students total in our class. You can see that if you go into our course in pause, click the class list link, and you can see all the students. Kind of nice there because after you've done your introduction, which many of you did, I think about 12 of us, is that right? Let me look at my notes here. 12 students posted their introduction online. And that's really good. Make sure you get the sound this time. And that's really good because throughout the semester you may have questions that you need to ask to one of your classmates. You may just want to reach out and talk to your classmates so that you stay connected and plugged in. And so now you kind of know a little bit about each other, and I think that's a wonderful thing. So already in this week and a half of class that we've covered, you've earned some grades, you've got some things going. For example, hopefully you completed, hopefully you were one of the, let me find this here, pause quiz. Oops, where did I put that? Hopefully you are one of the 4 students who completed your pause quiz for the online orientation. Very important as an online student that you get comfortable in pause, and and not just pause, but the online learning environment. It can be isolated, it can be lonely, and it can require, and often does require, much more time than a regular class. When you think about it, in a classroom setting, the teacher is synthesizing and emphasizing things, whereas in an online environment, you're having to read a lot more to get that same information. It's not a bad thing, it's just prepare for that, okay? And that's one of the things that the orientation does, is it reminds you that you're going to have to invest extra time into this class, but you're going to enjoy it. This is a really good class, and I think if you've already read chapter 1, you see that it's very rich in information that has immediate application into your life. Speaking of that, many of the students, in fact I think all of the students, hopefully, I've got 15 attempts, and so those are not unique attempts, have started the Chapter 1 quiz. Now, when is that due? Monday, right? It's due the 30th, and let me just double check. Is that Monday? No, I'm sorry, that's Wednesday. Thinking of another class, I apologize. So Wednesday, you have to have that Chapter 1 quiz completed. Now, we could look at the syllabus. Do you have your handy-dandy syllabus? You keep it near your computer so that you can reference things. We're going to look at a couple things today. As I reference this, it says that in order to earn any points on the chapter quiz, you must earn 80% or better. So if you earn a 79 or a 78, then what you actually earn is, can you see that? Right? What you actually earn is 0. You don't want to stop there. You don't want to quit on yourself at a C. You want to get an 80, 81, 82. Now, when you get those grades, that becomes your literal grade. 82% is 82%. It's not a pass-fail. What I'm telling you is that the minimum score is a B, an 80%. So strive for 100. Get 100%. Get all those points, right? Okay, now also 2 students have gone on to start into the Chapter 2 quiz, and I think that's wonderful. Work ahead as your schedule dictates. I let you go up to the first test. That's kind of the stopping point. So I'll let you do that so you can get started on that. Now, speaking of discussion postings, you can look in the discussion board, and 6 students have already posted their discussion entries for Chapter 1. I'm going to talk a little bit about more about that, so if you need to revise something, you will still have a little bit of time to do that. Basically, I'm going to emphasize something that I've told you last week, okay, and that is, again, in your handy-dandy syllabus. Now, on page 3 of the syllabus, where it says Methods of Evaluation, item number 2, I talk a little bit about your discussions and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. One of the things I want to take time now to emphasize is that proper spelling is necessary. It'll cost you points if you have typos and poor grammar in there. Here's a trick. Secret for success. Shh. Secret for success. Secret for success. Okay. Type it in a word processor first. You can open up Microsoft Word. There's lots of word processors out on the internet that are free, like Google Docs and things like that. And type it, run the spell check to make sure you don't have any spelling or grammar errors, and then fix those so that it looks good before, and then you just copy and paste it into the discussion board. It's going to save you a lot. Make sure you use proper capitalization, right? The first letter of every sentence is capitalized. A sentence has a period at the end of it. If you are speaking of yourself and you use the pronoun I, you say I think, I feel, I believe, that's a capital I, okay? Not a lowercase I. These things will cost you points. Don't lose points over silly stuff like that. You're a college student. You can do this. Okay. Now, I'm also going to turn on over in the syllabus to page number 5. I want you to look at page number 5, and specifically under where it says discussion guidelines. And it says all messages posted to the discussion board, of course, can be viewed by everybody, just like your introductions, right? So we've got to be careful about miscommunications. And you see the second paragraph there, miscommunications can cause hurt feelings, so we want to be respectful to each other. You can have your opinion, but we never want to, attack another individual or say, if you don't think like I do, then you must be stupid. These are not things that we're going to say. Part of an academic environment is to encourage free exchange as long as it's not hateful exchange. We don't ever want to be hateful in our discussions, okay? Now, here's the important part. See the third paragraph under discussion guidelines? Reference your textbook. Let me explain that and tell you what I mean. Let me read this. Reference your textbook. Make your opinion researched and based on your textbook. Remember that the purpose of education is often to change your views and opinions based on the science in your textbook. Okay? Now, this is what I mean by that. The discussion board questions often ask an opinion. It may say, I think this is looking ahead at a couple items, which health insurance or which insurance do you think is more important, health insurance or life insurance? Okay, now I'll give you 2 clues. When I ask you to pick one thing or the other, if you answer both, I'm knocking off tons of points, because not what I asked, right? I didn't, here's what, when you say both to me, here's what I fully understand, is you're refusing to make a decision. And in the world of business, we cannot do that, and this is a business course. In our personal finances, we cannot always choose both things. I would like to both have my refrigerator replaced tomorrow with a brand new refrigerator and save enough money for a new car. Those 2 things may very well be mutually exclusive. So when I'm asking you to make a decision, I indeed want you to make a decision. But we're talking about referencing your textbook. So when I say reference your textbook, you may really believe in your heart that something is true, but as you read your textbook, you cannot say, well, that's excellent in the textbook, but I'm going to throw that out the window and ignore anything that I've read and anything that I've learned. In essence, you're rejecting that knowledge, and I'm going to go with the thoughts and opinions that I had before I ever began to take the class. That's not an educated approach to anything, okay? So this is when I ask you to kind of consider changing your opinion, I realize that sounds like I want you to come to my opinion. It's not necessarily what I'm asking you to do. What I want you to recognize is that when you read this textbook, first of all, these authors, they have done a lot of work, and they didn't just sit down and kind of make some stuff up. In fact, oftentimes in the back of the book, you're going to see a list of references where they themselves go and reference other people. We call this referencing the literature, okay? So they go and they research this. Any author, any academic author does this, okay? And they research and they research and they research. So we may hold these beliefs, and we just really think they're true, but if you're not receptive to saying maybe there's more to it than I had ever considered before, then really what you're doing is you're rejecting that education sight unseen. You're not even, willing to consider it. And so consequently, it's not going to shape your opinions. I want you to be open to that. So when you post into the discussion board, I want you to say, just like the authors said on this page, in this part of the textbook, just like they said there, I agree with that, and it supports my decision. Okay, and I think you'll be easily able to do that because these authors present great examples. They're very clear in their statements, and so you should be able to support that. Now, I also love the personal and very real examples that you get. Consider when you share that you are saying this to the entire class. Okay, so make sure that excuse me, that your sharing is appropriate, but for example, you may say, I have had an experience with debt as a result of an emergency, and based on that, I understand these consequences or something. Maybe that's not a good example, but I'm hesitant to give you examples, really great examples that students have given me in the past. But I think these things that you read about, this is very real world. It's very related to everyday life, and so you can definitely give your personal examples and tell me how that's influenced your opinions, but also reference the text, okay? Because that's what we're looking for, is to bring those two things together. That's really when learning has occurred, when you take that outside world and you bond it with the reading that's in your textbook. Okay, you can tell I get excited about that, and I do. So that's what I'm looking for you to do on that. Okay, so we talked about the discussion guidelines, proper spelling, proper grammar. A lot of times if you think that you've said it correctly, but you keep getting that green squiggly line in Microsoft Word, which is available on all the campuses, most public libraries have Microsoft Word installed, you may really feel in your heart that you've said it correctly, but if Word can't understand it, then you may want to take a step back and say, how could I say this in a different way? Maybe there's a more clear way of saying it, okay? All right, speaking of textbooks, I did send you a link where you could read Chapter 1 of the textbook free online. If you are still looking for a textbook, have not received your textbook, this is actually the textbook that I'm going to put in the library on the Macon campus. Now, when I put this textbook in the library, you may not check it out. It's not available for checkout. This textbook will be put, let me get my air quotes ready, on reference. A lot of students do not understand what this term means, on reference. When one of your faculty members puts a textbook or any materials on reference at the library, what that means is that you can read it as long as you stay in the library. You may not take it out of the library. But still, with this textbook, you could go over to one of the library computers and you could take your quiz, you could post to the discussion board, so you can use it while you're in the library. Okay, now, when you walk up to the library, be very clear about what you're requesting. You go up to the reference desk, and you don't want to say, I need a textbook, I need a book. Okay, what they're going to think is that you're trying to buy your textbook, and they're going to send you to the bookstore. Okay, here's what you need to be very clear about. You need to say, my instructor, Dr. Joan, has a book on reference, or you say, I need a book on reference. There is a book on reference that I need to read. Okay, get those words out there, on reference. You'll need to give them my name, our course name and number. Always amazed at when students walk up and they say, well, what course is this for? And I have seen this actually, and the student says, I don't know. You don't know? Bring your syllabus with you. Have some of that information with you so that you can tell them my name and the name of our course, okay? And you'll be fine. And so anyway, so I am going to have this, give me a couple days into the week, hopefully by Wednesday at least. I hope to put it on reference Monday, but I don't know how long it will take them to process that. So, okay, so what is coming up? You've done a lot. You've done your pause quiz, you've done your introduction discussion, you've done your Chapter 1 discussion, your Chapter 1 quiz. If you haven't done those, you only have a little bit of time left. You got until Wednesday, right? Oh, and let me tell you about grading those. The quizzes, of course, are graded automatically, and so you know your score immediately on that. The discussions obviously are manually graded. I do go through and read them. I read every single one in painstaking detail, okay? And I will give you feedback in the Dropbox of pause, or not Dropbox, I'm sorry, under the grades link of pause, okay? I need you to read that feedback because I will expect you to improve based on the feedback that I've given you. In fact, I tend to deduct points a little bit more aggressively if I see that you're constantly ignoring that feedback and repeating the errors of the past, okay? Again, see, we're going to improve. This is a process, a cycle of improvement. And we all, we all have to improve. These are things we all go through. Okay. Give me about a week to grade those and to get that feedback out there to you. Typically, I need about a weekend to get that done. Okay. Now, looking ahead, you have your handy-dandy schedule. Right now, we are still on page 1. You've done a lot in this very first block of page 1. Now we're moving down into chapter 1, and so you see those due dates that are coming up. Wednesday, if I'd read the schedule, January 30th. Now looking ahead, you can see on page 2, already moving forward, page 2, that you need to go ahead and keep working, keep going forward on into chapter 2. And every week you'll have a discussion board posting and you'll have a chapter quiz. Okay, so I hope that you are already immersing yourself into the content and that you're seeing that this class has some really good things to offer. I'll be talking to you each week. First couple chats tend to get a little lengthy as I kind of explain to you my expectations, but I do enjoy this class. I think you will too, and I really do think that we're going to have a good semester together. So with that, I hope that you sneak a little bit of time today to enjoy some of this 70-degree weather before it starts to rain. Okay, so I look forward to reading your discussions and to talking to you more online. Bye-bye.